Chapter 1: The Idea That Shook the World.
Deep within an underground facility, hidden from prying eyes, a man named Alex worked in silence. The laboratory where he spent his days and nights was a sanctuary of secrecy and brilliance. The walls were lined with screens covered in formulas. Shelves overflowed with crystalline matrices and fiber optic cables. At the heart of the chamber, like a throne surrounded by candles, stood a mighty quantum computer, emanating a faint, vibrating glow. Without it, none of Alex's plans would have been possible. He was the greatest scientist of his time, and he had just turned 40. Though his beloved wife Mary and young son William were waiting for him at a cozy restaurant to celebrate, Alex did not leave the lab. He stared at the screen of his smartwatch, but it was no ordinary watch. Built into it was a device for traveling through the multiverse. The band and casing were flesh-toned, designed to avoid unwanted attention. It was built for all conditions: heat, cold, water, pressure, impact. It had to endure everything, and more. The quantum AI working alongside Alex confirmed the parameters. Everything matched the calculations. This was the 5th iteration. Alex felt the same nervous anticipation as the first time. Previous attempts had ended in failure. Each time he had said heartfelt goodbyes to his loved ones, hoping for the reward he deserved after all his efforts. And yet, every time, he feared the unknown waiting on the other side of the discovery. Would he ever see them again? Today, he chose not to say goodbye. There had already been enough worry and tears. After sitting in thought, he tapped the icon on the watch, like what he had long awaited and feared most finally happened. The unknown.
Chapter 2: The Age of Sword and Cross.
Waking up amidst a dense forest, Alex slowly regained his senses. His clothing felt out of place. The air, heavy yet alive, was filled with the scent of grass and smoke. Before he could fully understand where he was, a warrior appeared before him, tall, stately, clad in chainmail adorned with a cross on the chest, a spear on his back, and a sword at his hip. His eyes were stern, but held no malice.
He addressed Alex with the dignity befitting a nobleman.
"Greetings, traveler. Tell me, are you the pilgrim mentioned at the inn? They say he walked alone through the forest, fearing neither beast nor brigand." Alex, having no other choice, bowed respectfully.
I am a pilgrim in search of truth. On my path, I met a kind Jewish merchant who offered me warmth and gifted me this foreign attire so I might not burden this world.
The knight's expression softened. His eyes brightened. "A pious task you pursue, brother. I myself returned not long ago from the Third Crusade, where my sword brought both death and truth, though my heart longed for peace. Call me William. William the Great, as they jest, perhaps seriously, in these lands." Thus, Alex earned the favor of the knight. William offered to escort him to his castle, promising shelter, food, and conversation. So began their friendship, like a flame sparked from a humble ember. Alex stole a glance at his watch. The indicator showed 72 hours of charging time. The device, powered by light, charged slowly but steadily. In 3 days, he would be able to return. At dinner, in a hall of wooden beams and a roaring hearth, Alex saw Margaret, William's wife. She was young, beautiful, and sad, like morning mist over a valley. Her gaze lingered on Alex's face, and within it, a storm brewed that no reason could restrain. The next day, as the sun rose over the hills, William summoned Alex to the armory. He stood examining a helmet, a shield, and chainmail, then spoke with a playful tone. "Do you know, my friend, that a knightly tournament is not only about honor and sport, but also a rather profitable affair? The victor claims the armor and horse of the vanquished. And believe me, a good war horse and finely forged Mainz armor might cost more than a castle. In 2 days, I travel to Rothenstedt. A grand tournament awaits. If fortune favors me, I shall return not only with a wreath of glory, but also a purse full of silver." He paused briefly, then added, "Will you come with me, my brother?" Alex nodded. Deep down, he sensed that fate itself was nudging him forward. Ever since arriving, he had wondered, was this the past, or another reality altogether? The tournament might hold the key to this mystery.
"I wish to come as well," said Margaret's voice. She stood in the doorway, wrapped in a light veil. "As you wish," William replied with a gentle indulgence. "Bring your maids, wear your red dress and veil, but stay close to the tent. That will be safest." That night, Alex lay awake, staring at the ceiling of the guest chamber. Thoughts swirled in his head like moths around flame. He recalled what he'd once read about medieval tournaments, facts buried in childhood memories. Until the end of the 12th century, tournaments were fought with real weapons. Swords were sharp, lances deadly, and armor just basic chainmail. Maiming and death were common. Only in the late 13th century did, quote, peaceful rules emerge. Blunted weapons were introduced, reinforced armor appeared. Blows to the right arm, unshielded, were banned. Strikes there earned penalty points, and injury due to such a strike resulted in victory for the injured knight. Tournaments became more theatrical. Coats of arms, mottos, decorations. Ladies gave their champions ribbons to tie to their helmets. A barrier was erected to prevent head-on collisions. Even squires had their moment. Winning their contest could earn knighthood. The next morning, William ordered his squires to dress Alex appropriately. When he emerged from the tent in a soft blue tunic, cloak, and simple boots, Margaret looked at him, and her cheeks flushed. The journey to the tournament grounds took a day and a half. The entourage stretched for nearly 300 meters. Servants hauled tents, banners, helmets, and wine-laden packs. Alex rode alongside the squires, eagerly asking questions about tournaments, duels, and chivalric customs. It felt like stepping into a living illustration from a book he had read long ago. Upon arrival, Alex barely concealed his awe. Dozens of tents blanketed the valley, colorful, embroidered with crests, horses in caparisons, knights in gleaming armor, boys with torches, and drums at dawn. Banners waved above the arena, and along the field stood a two-tiered grandstand for nobles and commoners alike. At the center, raised above all, was the seat reserved for the king's representative, local sheriff and his retinue, who would judge this prestigious tournament. Margaret, meanwhile, seized every chance to glance at Alex, to exchange a word in the tent's shadow or linger by the fire when the others had gone to sleep. But Alex, though drawn to her, maintained noble restraint. He knew William was his friend, and betrayal was not his path. "You carry many journeys within you, Alex," she once said, "and much sorrow. It's as if you are here, yet not." Alex turned away. "Perhaps that is my fate." The tournament began with a squires contest. One of William's young attendants emerged victorious, drawing a roar of approval from the crowd. At last the horns sounded and heralds cleared the arena, calling out dueling pairs. Knights rode out 2 by 2, shouting their battle cries, charging at one another with lowered lances. The victor advanced in the tournament bracket.
Chapter 3: The Trial of Steel.
William's name was called. He rode out, proudly mounted on a stately gray stallion. His armor gleamed in the morning sun, and around his neck, draped over his shoulder, was a red scarf tied by Margaret's own hand. In the first match, he unseated a knight from a nearby castle with a single blow. The opponent was badly injured and carried off the field. The tournament had begun not as a game, but as battle. The next knight matched William in both skill and stature. In their first clash, both managed to deflect each other's lances. They tried again. This time, both struck shields simultaneously. The impact threw them out of their saddles. The opponent broke his arm and injured his leg. He could not continue. The second victory went to William. The third challenger was a Norman knight, stocky, grim, with a hardened face. In the first charge, William stayed mounted, but the Norman's lance struck his shoulder, piercing the mail and drawing blood. Alex winced at the sight. But William clenched his teeth, ordered a change of armor, and assured his squire it was just a scratch. In the second round, as the Norman aimed once more at the wounded shoulder, William swerved at the last second, driving his lance straight into the opponent's chest. There was a crunch, a scream. The lance had pierced flesh. The horse bolted with the wounded man, but moments later he slumped and fell from the saddle. His lifeless body landed on the lance, which impaled him completely. The arena gasped, then roared in approval. Only the final round remained. Two of the best knights. Both had fallen. Both were wounded. Another fall in full armor could be fatal. So they chose to fight on foot with swords. William held his sword in his right hand, a shield in his previously wounded left. His opponent, John the Stern, was ambidextrous and wielded two swords, a rare and deadly skill. But William had advantages. His sword was longer, his strength impressive, and John's leg injury had cost him mobility. The odds were even. The fight began. John struck first. His blades moved like lightning, forcing William into defense. William knew he couldn't attack directly. One blade would block, the other would strike through the opening. He chose cunning. He stepped left, then back, luring John to follow. The injured man limped, every step a grimace. William feigned retreat, masking intent. Then, a sudden charge to the right and forward, shield raised. The distance closed. John struck the shield furiously, targeting the wounded arm, but it was too late. William thrust his sword from behind the shield. The blade pierced armor. John cried out, fell to his knees, trying to stop the sword burying into his flesh. John's swords dropped. He tore off his helmet, gasping, looked at William, and gave a nod of gratitude. For mercy, not vengeance. William had spared him. Victory was his. He felt the ache in his injured arm. Had the fight gone longer, the outcome could have changed. The crowd roared. Squires rushed to the fallen knight, carried him off on a stretcher. The judge proclaimed the victor. William received a Damascene steel sword with a gilded hilt, a treasure fit for kings, and with it came glory, horses, arms, and armor of the defeated. He was truly William the Great. Women showered him with flowers. Margaret ran to him and, barely holding back tears, offered him a fresh ribbon. He accepted silently, tied it to his helmet, and looked at her with quiet gratitude. Alex stood among the crowd, his chest filled with pride, anxiety, and a strange, aching sadness. The sun dipped toward the west. The tournament was over. Ahead lay the feast, the farewell, and the return.
Chapter 4. Farewell to a Legend.
In a tent bathed in the soft glow of torches, the warriors feasted. Wine flowed like a river. Songs gave way to toasts. Alex sat beside William, who still felt the pain in his shoulder but showed no sign of weakness. William raised his cup and said, "Honor is not a title, but a deed. And anyone who stands beside me in battle or at the table is my brother." Margaret barely smiled during the feast, as if she sensed what Alex had not yet dared to say. "At first light tomorrow, I will leave," Alex said quietly. "Wherever you may go, traveler, know this. In my castle, you will always find shelter and a brother," replied the knight. William stood and drew a dagger from its sheath, stepping in front of Alex. The blade gleamed in the firelight. This was no ordinary weapon. It was a battle-hardened artifact, a symbol of trust brotherhood, and honor. "Take it," he said, extending the dagger. "It was with me in 100 battles. May it now protect you." The dagger was heavy, with an engraved crest on its hilt. When Alex took it, a silence fell between them, as if the entire hall had paused. It was more than a gift, it was a recognition. Margaret approached and, without saying a word, offered a farewell smile, filled with pain and tenderness.
In the morning, Alex awoke to the chill air. Inside the tent, all was quiet. Only the soft breathing of sleeping warriors and the lingering scent of wine, leather, and ash. He drank some water, dressed quickly, and stepped outside. As he left the tent, he looked back one last time at the camp. The tents, the tack, the crests, the banners. It all looked like a storybook scene. His friends were still asleep. William was likely still resting too. Alex slowly made his way toward the woods. The air was crisp and clean. When he reached the trees, he turned around. His heart tightened. He knew he would not return. He looked at the watch. The glossy screen blinked. Alex took a deep breath, clenched the hilt of the dagger in his pocket, heavy, cold, real, and tapped the icon.